the shloka from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text number 5, right? So if someone is having it in their mobile phone, y'all can open it. Or if you all want to refer that as, that's fine if you all don't have. So I'll read the shloka. Okay. यतः सांख्ये प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं सांख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति. Word to word meaning, yes, what Sankhya, by means of Sankhya philosophy, prapyate is achieved, sthanam place, tat that, yoga by devotional service, api also, gamyate one can attain, ekam one, Sankhyam analytical study, cha and, yogam action in devotion, cha and, yaha one who, pashyati sees, saha he, pashyati actually sees. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So translation goes as follows. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. Purport. The real purpose of philosophical research is to find the ultimate goal of life. Since the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two processes. By Sankhya philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that a living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but of the Supreme Spirit whole. Consequently, the Spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world. His actions must be in some relation with the Supreme. When he acts in Kṛṣna consciousness, he is actually in his constitutional position. But in the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter, and in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Kṛṣna consciousness. Factually, both processes are the same, although superficially one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Kṛṣna are one and the same. One who can see this sees things as they are. Right? So, anyone would like to say what the purport meant? Any two important points from the purport if you have heard it carefully? Anyone online? Okay. I mean, we have to hear also in the lecture. That is also important. It's not just we go on saying. It will be like it's just like dealing with impersonal things, right? Let's say this laptop is sitting right in front of me, and only when I put a command to it, it responds. But if I say, unless and until I use a voice assistant in this, hey, can you do this? It won't be able to do that, right? So similarly, we are sitting in a class, we are hearing what is being said or read out from Bhagavad Gita, right? But at the same time, we are physically present, but mentally not present, right? Even people who are online, I won't ask you all because I kind of the speaker from the laptop is not that good. Please pay attention like what is being read, right? So our very topic is many paths but one goal, right? So in this purport, how many paths are given? If you all have noticed, yes, Vivek. Two paths are given. Okay, so that's good. Online people can see on their screen that here is written, right? So these two processes are given, right? One is Sankhya philosophy as well as another as devotional aspect. So now Sankhya philosophy says what? Sankhya philosophy says that you analytically study, like why is this happening? Why you have to have a proper reasoning to it, right? So that's the whole thing. That one needs to get appropriate reason before acting. But devotional service does what? It just says that you attach yourself, right? You just do your service and things will automatically come to it. So these are the two processes. The first one is to detach oneself from the material world. That's the philosophy. That's the core of Sankhya philosophy, right? Because the spirit doesn't belong to this material world, right? And as far as the devotional service goes, the devotional process, what it says that you attach it to Krishna. It's just like saying, that you have this hand, okay? So I'll say that catch your left ear, right? And then the second statement which I say that you don't have to catch your right ear. So both are same. It's just the way of putting it, right? First one I'm saying you have to catch your left ear, right? This is the left ear. And in the second one I'm saying that you don't have to catch your right ear. That means you'll catch left ear ultimately. Okay? So both the processes are correct because they are leading to the same goal. Now here in this particular, purport, we can see only two things that Prabhupada has mentioned to make it concise and stuff. But there are many parts, many parts. So there are people, who study this. We call it in modern terminology. They do not study something which is sanatana, right? They do not study something which is bhakti yoga. They study or they make a study on Hinduism. Okay. So these studies of Hinduism is actually, done by the people in the West. And these people, they study everything and anything. If you look at it, the scientists, they examine the stool also, right? So that was kind of, if if you give them anything, practically they don't know. They don't. That thing doesn't even matter. That thing doesn't even matter. Even they'll study that also. Let's say something as minimal as the behavior of an animal, right? An animal is meant to behave in a wild manner, right? I mean, why do you study it? There are animals which can be tamed, and there are animals which cannot be tamed, right? But they study the behavior, they make the animal submit, and they keep it as a pet animal. Now later on, in future, what happens? Some incident occurs. There's an accident. The left hand is missing, either right leg is missing, something or else is missing, or the whole person is missing from the world, right? That's the whole thing. That's what you get in trying to, mend things your way. When you try to over analyze things, right? So that is the condition which we are currently in, we do not analyze things. Similarly, this thing goes for the happiness. Just like before starting this session, we had some internet problem, and I was asking that, what is that one thing that you can say there are many paths, but the goal is one, right? So I got an answer from one of the devotees here that, it's happiness, right? So that's the same thing. You want to be happy, why not take the easiest way, which is the very simplest way? Is that require, over endeavoring things? Do you think that over endeavoring will make you happy? We all don't think that. But when we are in the earlier stages, we think. That's why we take many paths for the same goal of becoming happy, right? Someone tries to study engineering, someone tries to be good at art, someone tries to, study for medical, someone tries to prepare for civil, and someone just tries to lead a life, as Charvak theory goes, that you can, just for remaining happy, what you do, you beg, you borrow, you steal, whatever you can do, just take a loan and live your life, on that particular loan. Because at the end of the day, you'll have to leave your body, right? So don't worry about paying the loan, just keep on taking loans, right? And when the time comes, you will already leave this world. There's no point, earning hard. It's better to take a loan, right? Practically. So that's the thing. Similarly, these people who study these things, they are very much bothered when they don't understand this, right? When there's, let's say, someone who's studying something and he doesn't understand it, what does he do? What does he? They try to consider very hard to understand it, right? That's the whole. But what will be the simplest way? Let's say this whole world, the world that we are in, is just like, the race of fish and a monkey. Have you all seen that? A similar task is given to a monkey as well as to a fish, is to climb a tree, right? What do you think? Who will win? Monkey, right? It's not even a question that one has to ask, right? So, what do we see here? That it's his forte, right? It's his strong point. The monkey is meant to climb a tree. But what if, you go to the fish and say, what kind of fish you are unable to climb a tree? Will you do that? Any intelligent person will do that. Foolish people can do. So similarly, we do what? When we don't study, or we don't understand something, we think, or we, after analyzing it, after putting sufficient efforts, we come to a conclusion that no, this is not meant for me. I'll do something else. What is the need of fitting in with the crowd, right? That's what an intelligent person does. If he's not under pressure, social pressure, family pressure, peer pressure. These are all kind of pressure right now that every youth is kind of going through, right? So similarly, these people, what they do when they don't understand things, they are very much bothered. That's why what they put is something known as theories. You know what are theories? Heard of it? Theories? Theories are not actual proofs. It cannot be used to make any foundation, right? It's just an assumption, and a theory can be overruled at any time, right? So that's what they present. They present a theory. So because they think that they can understand everything. Even have you all ever tried to study Hinduism? Any one of you ever tried? No, right? Because we are already Hindus. We don't concern ourselves through that, studying Hinduism, because we are all born in that particular culture, right? So that's the whole thing. And we do not belong in this category, that wherein we have been presented many paths, so we have to explore everything, right? And many also doesn't mean that any path, right? Let's say the very example that we used before, that a person, he steals and becomes happy, and someone who works hard earn not works hard practically, he earns in a polite way or in an honest way, he becomes happy. So which one is the correct happiness? Is obviously the person who's righteously working and earning, right? That's the correct path. And but there are these philosophies also, or this kind of ideologies on which there was a really big what we can say, so much tantrums were thrown online, and this was pretty famous. There's this one dialogue known as, or this one particular ideology known as jato mat tato pat, right? Whatever you think, you take that path, right? So that's not like it. So whom do we follow? What is the path? What are the paths to be taken? Who's going to tell us? That's the most important thing, in this particular thing. Now, there are many paths, different schools we have, not the studying schools, right? This is not the school, primary, secondary stuff. We are talking about the Vedic schools. There are different sampradayas, wherein different kind of, we can say philosophies are present. Sri, Kumar, Vaishnava, Rudra, Brahma Madhya Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So these are four kind of schools, right? And there are different levels also, just like we have in our normal schools. So not everything can be presented to everyone, right? If we are teaching mathematics, we can't introduce the concept of integration and derivation to a kid who's in first standard, right? Similarly, we won't be teaching the basics of addition and subtraction to a person who's pursuing PhD, right? So that's why we have different levels and different schools also. Someone wants to expertise in a specific field. So even in our religion, or what we call in the Vedic structure, there are different areas in which one can gain expertise, because that can be his strong point. Someone can be good at cosmology, astrology. Someone can be good at presenting this philosophy, the Vedic philosophy, study of Shastras, Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas. There are so many things. So he can choose from it, whatever the options are available in a correct fashion, right? Now, when we talk about different sampradayas, let's say when we are talking about our very own, हम लोग सब लोग यहाँ पे आ रहे हैं, we are coming in this particular organization. We call it as ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, right? That's what we are addressing it. So we are actually belonging to Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. Right? So in Gaudiya Sampradaya also there are three primary schools if you look at it. So one is Advaita Parivar. Then there is Nityananda Vamsha, Narottam Vamsha. So like that, there are different vamshas are present. The, the thing is same. Everyone is having the goal same, but the method is different. That's the whole point, right? And similarly, in Madhva Sampradaya, Madhva Sampradaya, there is one section for the Brahmanas, another section for the Dasaputas. These are very technical, but just, in case if you hear it later on, you'll kind of relate with it. Okay? So you can just kind of, take it. But if we look at this, even though it may seem, like that Krishna says from the Vedas, one can say that there are so many different paths. If one person is to be known, then what's the point? You know, why so many different paths? It could be one only. And even if we study so many, there are so many scriptures, as I said, Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, and everything. So if from everything only Krishna is to be known, why isn't it directly spoken? Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says what? Vedascha sarver aham eva vedya. Right? He says that out of the study of Vedas, when you study all the Vedas, I am the one who is to be known. If you study all the Vedas and don't come to the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that means your study of Veda is still incomplete. You do not have a complete understanding of it. But when we study the Vedas, you won't find any direct mention of Krishna. It's so bewildering. Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, right? Very bewildering. They do not give you the right conclusion or the exact conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The same thing Krishna mentions in the 11th canto of Śrīmad. He says that these rishis, they kind of do not approach me or do not explain me directly. They take the indirect method, and I like that. That is what Krishna is saying ultimately, right? So we can see that these are some of the rishis and munis, they are giving it. Even though Madhvacharya, he, while commenting on the Shastras, he gave a direct emphasis on it. But in order to understand something which is direct, one needs to actually know the calculations of it, right? Let's say something is presented directly. I say that if you want to reach this particular place, these are the landmarks and you have to follow these landmarks, right? But in order to follow the landmarks, one needs to be familiar with the area, right? If you're not familiar with the area, you'll have to ask around every nook and corner. Where can I get this shop? Where can I get this establishment? I have to reach to this particular place, right? So one needs to be familiar with it. So let's say we are coming and we are kind of picking up Vedas and just going through the commentaries and everything. It's not kind of sure that you'll be understanding everything. For that, what is required? Guidance is required, right? That's the whole point. Just like in Varnashram, we talk about Varnashram, right? So Varnashram, when we say, we think that the goal of Varnashram is to attain Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it's in the structure. And Krishna says that I have created this system, the Varnashram system, 4 Varnas and from 4 ashramas, right? Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, Vaishya, and Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. So these are 4, total 8 kind of things. So he says like that. But what this actually Varnashram means, it doesn't suffice to the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They even worship different kinds of demigods. There are, even in Varnashram system, they worship different demigods. Now, what is the need of worshipping these demigods? If they don't worship demigods, they'll be unable to, eat meat and stuff like that. Right? So even in Vedas, there are, accommodations for it. You won't say that they are encouraging it, but they are present in the Vedas. If someone wants to eat meat, he can offer it to Kali and stuff like that at this particular goat, buffalo. Someone is very rich, so he can buy a buffalo and offer. Then they all can, eat and stuff. And similar thing goes, with the alcohol perspective, right? Same thing. Like even in the Vedas, it is said that each and every sin can be counteracted, apart from the one which is drinking of the alcohol. It's a very heavy sin, right? There are many things that are going on in the name of Varnas and Ashramas. That's why our founder, the founder of ISKCON, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he established the Devi Varnashrama system. So what we have here is something which is beyond this, which teaches you to go beyond this. That you don't have to follow, these kinds of worship and everything, which encourage or in which you can be entrapped, right? That's the whole point. That's why what we do is, go through something which is coming in authority, right? We do not consider anything or everything. That because just everyone is doing it, he is demigod ko worship karo. You worship that demigod, right? So that's why go on and do that. Many people, many faiths. But what is the correct thing, right? When we ask someone, when we ask someone, let's say I'll ask you all, which is the most famous state in India? Anyone? I mean, पर्सनली नहीं बोलना है, स्टेट्स और मतलब फैक्ट्स पे बोलना है. पॉपुलेटेड नहीं बोला है, हेवीली पॉपुलेटेड नहीं बोला है, फेमस बोल रहा है. बैंगलोर या कर्नाटक? So that's what I'm asking.
It is for IT field.
Huh?
It is famous for IT.
No, I'm asking in general what's the most famous thing. I'm not asking for IT. Did I mention IT? Huh? That's a devotional place. Okay, let's not guess it. It's New Delhi. New Delhi is one thing which is the most famous because it's the capital and people come there mostly, right? That's the whole thing. But previously, from the religious perspective, it was Varanasi, Banaras. No, I'm talking about Varanasi. You are mentioning a place. You are mentioning a place.
I'm from Germany.
So that doesn't justify things. Then you should keep quiet and hear, right? What I'm going to say. What is Varanasi famous for? Tell me. Kashi Vishwanath. After that? Please say. Now I'm asking you. You can say. Now you've got the authority. Please say. Speak. What is it famous for? Why do people come
It is famous for pan. Banarsi pan.
here? Exactly. Really good. That's the point. It's famous for Banarsi pan. Second thing?
Shiva temple. There are very many. It is famous for Shiva.
But what does Lord Shiva signify? What's the impetus? Why is Lord Shiva very much worshipped there? Kala Bhairava.
Because of yoga.
Huh?
Yoga.
So what does yoga mean?
Yoga means that you.
Sorry for the people who are online. I mean, you won't be able to hear the answers. But this is kind of, very interactive sessions. We have got a good devotees here who are responding, not like all the last sessions wherein I had to force people to speak. It's really good to have an interactive session once in a while. Yes, yoga.
I don't know the full meaning of yoga, but it is good for health. Good for mind, good for
Okay.
heart.
So you're talking about asanas, not yoga.
Yeah.
Asanas, not yoga. Okay. That's what is famous for, Lord is famous. But if you see, Lord Shiva teaches us the very basic principle. You belong to Kashi, right?
Yes.
But we don't know the significance. The significance is what, hear it first, then you respond. Okay? The significance is detachment. Anasakta. Anasakti, har ek cheez se. If you see Lord Shiva, he's, it's kind of, he can be considered, he's a demigod, not equivalent to Lord Vishnu, but he has so much potency. He has his own separate position. He has his own separate position, right? He can manifest things like this, right? If he wants, he can build a palace, live there. Where does he reside? He resides in Kailash. What does he wear? Very heavy ornaments, golden ornaments? No. He wears, a mrig chhal, or, deer skin practically, or in some cases tiger skin, or something like that. Lives like a yogi, practically, right? He is known as Adi Yogi, also. Right? Leads such a life. Nowadays, we possess such a little opulence. What do we wear? Golden chains, diamond rings, Rolls Royce cars, right? But that is what he's teaching. He's teaching what? Detachment. That's the very important point. And that's why people used to visit, right? They used to come to Banaras. Some people used to get heavy realization because it's also known as the city of death. You can see Asti Ghat. People come there and then they see people and then they realize, nothing is meant in this particular, body. There's this very story, for a person who can, who says that, we can practice bhakti in our old age. Really good story, really funny story. I can share. So there's this one old man. He was a cloth merchant, right? So he had his big shop. So many cloths were there, but he became old. So his son took over. His sons took over, and they were managing the shop. But he used to interrupt them at every step. He said, "No, don't do it like this. You do it like this. Keep this kind of clothes. Don't keep this kind of clothes." So the son said that, "Father, it's better now. You stay at home. do some bhakti and stuff. But he never used to listen. 1 or 2 days he didn't used to come. Other days he used to come, sit in the shop on the counter and do the same thing again and again. So now the family got fed up. They thought, let's take a trip. Suggested some good Brahmana. So the Brahmana said, take him to Varanasi and just take him around the city. It's very pious place, very potent place, and he'll get good realization. So they go there, and they are visiting and everything. Then there comes a sadhu. There's a sadhu, and the sons request the sadhu that, can you please keep our father with you for some time so that he can get some realizations then. So he says, okay, fine. So now this person is with the sadhu. Sadhu goes around everywhere. Then days pass on. Then sometimes what happens that he comes. He comes and takes him to the Assi Ghat. And he stands there and the old man starts crying. And he sees that. He starts crying incessantly. And now this sadhu thinks now he has got realization. So what he does, he asks the old man. So I'll say this part in Hindi because then you'll be able to relate it more. So the sadhu says कि आप किस लिए रो रहे हैं ना? क्या ऐसी चीज है जो आपको इतना मजबूर कर दी कि आप इस चीज को देख के रो रहे हैं? तब वो जो व्यक्ति होता है, जो बूढ़ा व्यक्ति होता है, वो क्या बोलता है, मैंने अपना जीवन बिता दिया क्या करते करते, कपड़ा 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 करते करते बिता दिया, लेकिन यहाँ आने के बाद मुझे लगा काश मैंने अपने जीवन में लकड़ा 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 किया होता तो और ज्यादा पैसे कमा लेता. You'll understand it, because the whole life he was having this business mentality, how to earn money, earn money, earn money. He was unable to see the reality which was right in front of him, that he has to leave this body. He has to leave this body. That's what he said. पूरा जीवन मैंने क्या किया, कपड़ा कपड़ा करके बिता दिया, काश लकड़ा लकड़ा किया रहता तो बहुत पैसा मिलता, क्योंकि मरना तो एविडेंट है ना. व्यक्ति एक बार एक सेट कपड़ा लेकर के साल भर भी चला लेगा, but every day people die, every moment people die, every second people die. Just because we don't see doesn't mean that there is just happiness around, right? That's why we neglect things. इसे भक्ति का क्या है, करेंगे भक्ति, अभी तो समय है, समय आने पे करेंगे, बुढ़ापा आएगा, 4 दांत गिरेंगे, 32 में से 28 रह जाएंगे, तब करेंगे. That's the whole point. थोड़ा सीरियस मैनर में मैंने बताया स्टोरी, that's why you are not laughing, but it was actually funny story, right? That's the whole point. That's what it is famous for, right? This is what the Varanasi is famous. And even the Lord is known as Mrityunjay. Lord Shiva is known as Mrityunjay. That's one of the points that people go. And even now, this place holds very significant opulence, right? So even there is facilities for sense gratification. Sense gratification means one can say that, this is a religious place, but there are many things that go on. I'll be telling you all, if you all want to know what are the things that are available, something which we can't mention because devotees are new over here and it's not the platform to speak upon. But there are many things which are available over there which you won't be able to think of even. So that's the whole point. One thing is, that these people, they are having so many facilities going on there. And even the same thing goes, we see people being pushed in many businesses, illegal businesses, brothels and everything. And then they justify things. They say that, beti bachao, beti padhao. Very famous moment, right? Where they think that they can save the girl child by educating her. But if you just look at the history of educating women, the very reason why it was started in West was to exploit the women. Because unless and until they remain in the shelter of their brothers and fathers, no one can exploit them. That's why they said we should first bring out gender equality. Women should have sufficient rights to work in the factories, offices as much as the males have, right? So that's the trap, the honey trap which they give on the name of equality, right? Because men, what we can say, the intelligence possessed by men is here from brain side. They think, they do logical stuff and then they calculate and then they take decisions. But for women, it is quite vice versa. They have, their EQ precedes their IQ. Emotional intelligence precedes the, you know, proper intelligence. That's what.
They think from heart. They just
I mean,
follow.
if someone wants to speak, there's a system. You have to raise your hands. You can't speak in between. That's not the correct thing. Right? Understand? Don't do that. So that's the whole point. Is, EQ and IQ, quotas, right? So they bought out. They bought out and exploited like anything, right? That's what goes on. Even on the name of slaughterhouses, they are opening slaughterhouses, right? But what are they slaughtering? They're slaughtering everything left and right. Now, in order to justify their slaughter, what have they started is known as vegan movement. The very so-called famous slaughter businesses, slaughterhouse owners have started this vegan movement, wherein they say that you shouldn't drink the milk of a cow or milk of buffalo or anything, because this milk is made from cruelty. They kill this, they kill the calf, put it, stuff it, and put it in front, milk it down. There are various machines which are used to milk the cow, in which the blood comes out, you know, everything, everything. So when one stops drinking milk, what will be the cows actually produced for or raised for? Is just for meat, leather, right? What else is the significance of kind of raising a cow? What do you all think? Is there any significance else? So they'll be having very expensive watches, purses, leather bands, right? Very good quality, high quality meat, cow meat presented, good quality of beef burgers, you know, and what is there are many things, I don't want to recall things, but it's just such a narrow-minded thinking wherein we go on with the trend. No, vegan movement. We have to become vegan. We support Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. But where's the logic in it? How many of you all have ever given a thought before hearing this thing? कभी आप में से किसी ने सोचा है कि what was the reason? बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ, बेटे को बचाओ बेटे को पढ़ाओ. Stress से कितने लोग IITians, they are suiciding left and right. People in government jobs under pressure, IPS, IAS, shooting themselves, hanging themselves. Why isn't that a point? Have you all ever thought about it? Is it not that it's not happening? How many of you all agree that it's not happening? It's happening, right? Not emphasis is given, because a woman, she can be pushed into prostitution, she can be pushed into adultery, she can be pushed by showing skin to the people. You just go out of the temple, reach the highway. 90% of the banners will have a woman half naked, right? With something which has got nothing to do with women, right? How many of you all, let's say a car. I mean, what's the role of a woman in a car advertisement? Does that make any logic? No logic, right? This was one of the sessions. I'll have to wind it up, but this is a very funny thing. So, how many of you all have seen boxing matches? Boxing matches? एक glimpse भी देखा होगा, right? So, when you see boxing matches, boxing is a game of two men hitting each other. But in interval, there's a female coming down, right? So this, for example, was given by Kṛṣna Prabhu in one of the classes. So he said, so in front of brahmachari, he said that they are just in two piece, right? And then they hold the board, right? So brahmachari is unable to understand. So they just said, just like we have copains from the brahmachari's female copain, only in female copain that Mataji is coming and showing the board, right? So it's shocking. I mean, what's the need of a woman over there? Now, no one would have seen kickboxing. How many of you all have seen, these kinds of famous MMA matches, right? There also the same thing happens. After winning, a woman comes, hands down the middle. What's the point in doing that? So this is what subtle kind of lust is being fed to us in the name of sports, in the name of culture, in the name of things like that. Everything you consider, left and right. That is how you have been conditioned, how we have been conditioned, how we are being controlled unknowingly. That's the whole point. But do we have time just to think about it? No, because we are very busy investing ourselves, getting more entangled, right? So now let's say, we talk about dharma and everything, Vedic culture. So what's the main point? Main thing is, when we talk about our dharma, Sanatan dharma, there are teachings of Manu, founder, kind of, Prajapati. So one of the Prajapatis was Manu, and there's this rule book known as Manu Samhita. Most of you all would have heard it, right? Don't speak in between. Right? So this is the whole thing. It gives you actually how to conduct one's life as per karma kanda, right? But at the same time, it also says there is something known as pravritti and something known as nivritti, right? So it says that even though by doing karma kanda you can be in life, you can go ahead and everything by performing austerities, penances, but the real happiness or real satisfaction you'll get only when you detach yourself from all these things. Focus your attention, one pointed attention to the Supreme Lord, to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, right? So nowadays what is happening, even in Karma Kand, it's not that simple. Karma Kand means what? You have to perform austerities as well as penances, right? But those austerities and penances must be performed in a particular manner, right? You look at, even we have seen our mothers, grandmothers, sisters, they perform austerities and penances for their husband, right? So that he may live long. They are known as vratas. एक हफ्ते में एक बार कभी फास्ट करेंगे वो for their long life, right? So that is also, you can say they are performing austerity and penance for the benefit of others, right? But nowadays what is happening that there are people who are performing austerities and penances for their own benefit, not performing it for pleasure of the Lord or for someone else. Right now, we meet so many students and they come, they say, we want to practice brahmacharya. And I ask them, what's the reason of practicing brahmacharya? They say that, it makes our face glow. It makes us healthy. And it makes us competent, bodily very strong, staunch, good memory power. But that is not the point of practicing brahmacharya. People who are not brahmacharis, especially in the West, if you see, not brahmacharis. But they are so intelligent, Nobel Prize winners, Oxford professors and stuff like that, good in AI and stuff. But they are good. They are good at it. You don't need brahmacharya for that, right? So they have this goal. And very famous example of exploiting this austerities and penances is Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu did austerities. He did penances which were mentioned in the Shastras only. How to please Lord Brahma, right? He followed the Shastras but for his own benefit, to gain power. To gain power, gain boons in order to rule. And eventually he was able to rule also. He wanted to gain a power which would terrify the whole world, the whole universe. So on his stairs he has different demigods placed. Surya, Chandra, Indra. So when he used to walk to his throne, he used to step on them. Just to walk. If there is too much heat, he used to just raise his eyebrows and sun used to go down. If he didn't want the moon, he wanted to, be bright early, he used to raise an eyebrow, moon used to go down, sun used to come up. On his notice, right? And there were different demigods, they used to work there as servants in his palace, right? He gained all those things while performing penances and so many things. But what was the end of it? Open heart surgery by Lord Narasimha. If you all don't know, you all can go in our temple hall. Just on the very right side, there's a diorama of Lord Narasimha doing the surgery, right? Taking out all the blackish contamination in the heart of Hiranyakashipu. That's the result of it, right? Similarly, in modern world, you see so many modern yogis, right? What do yogis do? Reduce their sleeping pattern, eat very less, right? Focus their attention. Now, a person who's very much engaged in, prospering materially, what does he do? Works very hard in office, eats very less, doesn't have time, right? Sleeps for 1 or 2 hours. We have our modern yogis, right? But what's the goal? What is the goal? Goal is self-satisfaction. That, how can I live comfortably in here? But Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, what is this place? It's known as dukkhalayam āshaśvatam. It's something which will give you misery, right? Just like, one can say that he's putting so much effort, but after some point, things will not work. Just like, how many of you all belong to a village background? कोई गांव से होगा अगर, right? So, when there is paddy, जो चावल का उपज होता है, चावल के गट्टे आते हैं, they're like, husks. So if one wants to extract the rice, what he does, he takes the husk and beats it on a table, right? So then the grains fall down, right? But if you look at the whole bunch of it, what you will see that they both look the same. When the rice has come out, even though, then it looks same. So similarly, what one does, if one is foolish enough, he thinks that, if I put more efforts, then more grain is going to come out. But the grain is already out. If you beat, you can only gain muscles, just an exercise. You can gain muscles, you can have good muscles, but it will just be husk. There's nothing in it. Similarly, what we are trying to do is trying to enjoy this material nature, but how much can we enjoy? Limited enjoyment is present over here, right? The real enjoyment that one is seeking, if he works that hard and he attains that enjoyment, don't you think that he'll be self-satisfied, right? We all have a goal, accomplish the goal, and then again we have a next goal. Why is that so? A goal is meant to make you happy. You became happy, now you have to be satisfied with it, right? How many of you all don't agree? Or how many of you all can justify that even after accomplishing a goal, we have another goal? I mean, be a little challenging to yourselves at least, not me. Then only you all can get, some answers from this particular discussion. I can challenge, any one of you I can challenge. A goal is necessary, a next goal is necessary, even though I'm refuting my own, point here. But I can justify it. How many of you all can at least justify what you all agreeing? Sitting there on the another side, hearing from a person to whom you don't know anything about. क्वेश्चन आना चाहिए कि नहीं आना चाहिए? क्यों विश्वास करूं मैं? What's right? So, but जिस पर्सन पे क्वेश्चन आना चाहिए वही आप लोगों को एनकरेज कर रहा है टू आस्क द क्वेश्चन. That's the very reason why you should trust. No one says, don't buy my product, it might be faulty. Because whatever we are speaking over here, it's all from the Shastras. All bona fide. इसमें मैंने कोई अलग से, I've written notes in my books, but they're all from here. It's not something that I've produced on my own thinking and logic, right? So that's the whole thing. Why do we do that? So, let me kind of end this, right? So, in our Vedic life, we have Chaturvarga, right? 4 Vargas. Right? Who can tell? 4 Vargas. These are the 4 goals of our life practically. Very famous. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Right? Everything is meant. What is the goal of life? आप में से कितने लोगों को लगता है 4 में से गोल क्या है लाइफ का? लाइफ में क्या पाना है आपको? धर्म, अर्थ, काम, मोक्ष. क्या इंपॉर्टेंट है? मोक्ष, राइट? एकदम यूनिसन में बोला आप लोगों ने. मोक्ष क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है ये भी बताइए. Why do you want to attain moksha? Reason? Not to come again in this material life. Not to come again in this material life. Okay. Life cycle of birth and death. Good answer.
As you said, this is a ãşsam book. So again, if you take birth, again you have to go through the same cycle.
So that's the real liberation. That's the real liberation.
So even
going back from back.
Serving them, not enjoying.
Exactly. Because the real enjoyment is in serving rather than being served. Right? आप लोग कभी किसी की सेवा करते हैं, किसी गरीब को दान करते हैं, किसी बूढ़े व्यक्ति को देखते हैं जो सामान नहीं उठा पा रहा, उसकी मदद करते हैं सामान उठा करके, तब ज्यादा मजा आता है या फिर जब आप लोगों का कोई मदद करता है उसमें ज्यादा आपको हैप्पीनेस मिलता है? किसमें हैप्पीनेस मिलता है? फर्स्ट केस, सेकंड केस? फर्स्ट केस. सेकंड केस में आप लोगों का कोई सर्विस कर रहा है. फर्स्ट केस क्या था? जब इसमें हम लोग सर्विस कर रहे हैं. नॉट फोर्सिंग इट. आप कंफ्यूज थे इसके लिए मैंने आपको बताया. आपको लगा मैंने 1 और 2 एक्सचेंज कर दिया, राइट? So that's the whole point, that this thing aims at moksha. We all want moksha, but what we are doing is doing fruitive activities, which is the cause of bondage. तो हम लोग कर्म कांड करके ऐसा सोच रहे हैं हमें मोक्ष मिल जाए, लेकिन कर्म कांड भी हमारा इस भौतिक जीवन में बंधन का कारण है. Now, how many of you all want dharma, artha and kama? Dharma, they say, what is the dharma? If you do your dharma, artha will automatically come and kam will be automatically satisfied. And moksha will be standing as a maid servant at your doorstep. Please accept me. Please accept. But how many of we all know what's the real dharma? What's the dharma? Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai. Yeah? Then what is it? Raise your hands. Wrong हो सकते हैं. You keep your hand. बोल सकते हैं. Yes. Of ourselves in what manner? I mean, I can maintain myself physically, mentally.
To our parents.
Then you said to ourselves. And now you're saying to your parents. That's the extended self. That's also correct in one manner. It's a deep philosophy to understand and the first goal. But again, when you serve them, you'll have to work hard, right? You'll have to work. That means karma. Again, engaging, causing bondage. And where is that written? When I serve my biological parents, right? Then I'll be going back to Godhead. Is it written somewhere? Quote it from the Shastra. If you know that is. No, it's not that, right? So our real goal is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's just like watering the root of the tree. When you water the root of the tree, you don't have to worry about the leaves, twigs, branches, trunk. No? You don't have to worry about that. Because when you water the root, everything else is nourished. Similarly, when you serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everyone is satisfied. That's the whole understanding of this particular discussion. And even performing austerities, one can say, no one does it full time, right? हमें से कोई ऐसा जो हमेशा ही तपस्या करता रहता है, कोई नहीं है ना. हमेशा ही पेनेंसेस करता रहता है, दान पुण्य करता रहता है, कुछ ना कुछ, कोई नहीं है. फुल टाइम कोई नहीं करता, right? Even we being full time are part time devotees. कभी कभार ही भगवान के बारे में सोचते हैं, फुल टाइम रहने के बाद. बाकी तो we can understand, right? So that's the whole thing, One aims, to do all this, that one needs to get married in order to beget children, right? धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष में धर्म करते हैं. तो धर्म क्या लोग सोचते हैं कि you marry, but marriage का original goal क्या है? To beget a son. And what's the now? अभी कोई बोल सकता है, गुरु जी कैसी बात कर रहे हो? बेटी हुई तो नहीं चलेगा क्या? बेटा ही होना चाहिए. शास्त्रों में क्यों बेटों को प्रधानता दी गई है? इसलिए नहीं कि वो माता पिता के बुढ़ापे की लाठी बनेगा. नो, द पॉइंट इज बिकॉज ओनली द सन कैन डू पिंडदान, which will relieve his ancestors and forefathers and his parents as well. Women can't do पिंडदान. We are not demeaning them, या उनको हम लोग ऐसा low consider नहीं कर रहे हैं, but we are providing reason. There are two things. Encouraging someone is one thing, and discouraging someone is another, right? If I encourage, let's say, two devotees who are serving at the help desk, asking people to do japa, right? They both were putting efforts. So if I praise one person, Prabhu, you did really a good service, but this devotee becomes discouraged, he should be empowered, right? That's the whole thing. So when we say that a male child is important, it doesn't mean that we are demeaning the female. कि फीमेल चाइल्ड इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. वी नेवर मेड दैट स्टेटमेंट, राइट? बट पीपल क्या करते हैं, इंटरनेट पे यही चीजें करते हैं. लेट्स से इफ दिस गोज ऑनलाइन, पीपल कैन हैव देयर ओन नैरेटिव्स. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम जस्टिफाइंग इट इन द वीडियो, राइट? So that's the whole thing. That's why they tell. And these austerities and penances were actually, performed by many kings. You have the records in Srimad Bhagavatam and stuff like that, right? So over and over, what is, there, we can say that यहाँ पे तो austerities and penances की बात चल रही है, but हम लोग यहाँ पे देख रहे हैं कि इतना बड़ा टेम्पल है इस्कॉन के पास में, वो भी मार्बल का, हम लोग सेंट्रलाइज्ड एसी में बैठे हुए हैं, गॉट गुड चेयर्स। पुराने जमाने में लोग पेड़ के नीचे बैठ करके, एक साधु वृक्षाल पहन करके, लंबी दाढ़ी रख करके तब वो कथा करते थे और बाकी लोग सुनते थे, राइट? तो आप लोगों के पास तो इतना ऑपुलेंस है, महंगे महंगे फोन रखे हुए हैं, हाथ में स्मार्ट वॉच, 1.5 लाख का लैपटॉप, है ना? तो फिर मतलब कहाँ का वैराग्य, कहाँ की तपस्या, where's the वैराग्य कम? So this was the question put forth to our very own founder Acharya of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada said that these all arrangement is not for me. I can be satisfied living under the tree. It's to attract you all, so that you all come and take up this message, right? Just imagine कीजिए मंदिर के बाहर पेड़ है, उस पेड़ के नीचे बैठ करके बहुत सिद्ध संत आप लोगों को ज्ञान दे रहा है, बोल रहा है कि मैं आप लोगों को ऐसा ज्ञान दूंगा जो आपको जीवन मृत्यु से परे कर देगी, और सामने राधा रासबिहारी का मंदिर है, कहाँ आएंगे आप लोग? इसमें कोई पनिशमेंट नहीं है, बोल सकते हैं जोर से। मैं भी होता मंदिर में ही आता। कितने लोग मंदिर में नहीं आएंगे, साधु के पास जाएंगे? हाथ ऊपर करो। See, you have your answers there. Everyone will come to this temple. So this temple is meant to attract. That's the whole point. So हमारा प्रिंसिपल क्या है? युक्त वैराग्य. We try to engage each and everything in the service of Krishna, right? That is our real goal. That's our real goal. So we have so many other paths ना. हम लोग योगा कर सकते थे, कहीं दाढ़ी बढ़ा करके, लाल कपड़ा पहन करके, बुद्धिस्ट मॉन्क बन करके, आईब्रो हटा करके भी कर सकते थे कुछ ना कुछ, many paths. But वो सब का प्रोसेस क्या था? Like what was the goal of it? To attain the supreme personality of Godhead, to attain His service practically. Attaining Him means getting His service from a bona fide devotee, coming in a disciplic parampara, not just getting certificates from any university, right? Getting certificates from a bona fide prestigious university, so that we don't have to run around asking anyone for service. Companies come and they take you, right? Similarly, this institution where we are, trying to do bhakti, not doing bhakti, trying to do bhakti, is something wherein we try to follow our acharyas. Then Lord Himself comes and takes us back. That's how the prestigious universities work, right? छोटी यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ोगे, हर जगह जाना पड़ेगा, भाई ले लो ले लो ले लो, जॉब पे रख लो ना। अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ोगे तो क्या होगा? कंपनीज खुद आएंगी, चलो बेटा आ जाओ आ जाओ आ जाओ, इतना देते हैं इतना देते हैं इतना देते हैं ना। तो ऐसे बहुत ऑफर मिलेंगे आप लोग यहाँ आएंगे तो। इंद्र भी आएंगे, चंद्र भी आएंगे, अरे आ जाओ यार मेरे लोग पे आ जाओ, हम ये फैसिलिटी देंगे ये फैसिलिटी देंगे। तो बट जाना नहीं है। Only when Krishna comes you go back home, back to God. So we'll end. I hope you all have a clear idea, or don't have the idea of many paths. You've got a really good sure short path. You know the goal. Now what you have to do is just follow the path in guidance, right? Any questions? Any questions from the sessions? मैंने तो अपना sufficient quota पूछ लिया आप लोगों से। Question आप लोगों का कुछ है? Yes.